Coming up next, we'll take you on a tour of the recently renovated Gardner Museum of Architecture and Design, and we'll talk with commercial artist Shelly Rasche. That's next on inLife.
This program is brought to you in part by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and through the financial support of viewers like you. Thank you. Funding for art segments on inLife is provided by the Illinois Arts Council, a state agency.
Hi, I'm Becky Cramblit. Welcome to this edition of inLife. Today we're in Quincy, and in a moment we'll take you to the Gardner Museum of Architecture and Design to show you how they've spruced up the place. But first, we had a chance to sit down and talk with commercial artist Shelly Rasche at her studio in Camp Point.
You'll find Shelly's studio a bit off the beaten path, tucked away behind the old farmhouse in a converted barn that's just as old. With all of the space and character her studio offers, it's easy to see why it's a great place to let creativity flow.
Shelly, tell me about the work that you've got in here. You have this fabulous studio to work in. And over here on this table, we've got some examples of some of the work that you've done. Tell me about these.
Okay, well, this is a tapestry that was done with a single piece of artwork for the most part. I had the original done as a Santa Claus, and then a second piece was the Christmas tree, and then they were able to, with a computer, put it together and then make a whole different design than what I had thought of at the time, and turn it into a table runner, and then also a pillow. And I don't have, but there's also a placemat that they also did as well. So they got several products out of the one design and kind of reconfigured things, which turned out very well. I was very happy with it.
And this here, we've got three-dimensional things going on rather than a flat surface.
Yes,
they have taken an image that you created and created little figurines out of them. And this looks like a collection maybe of the same?
Pretty much of mice. I've got a little mice collection going on here, and a couple of them are music boxes that actually have some movement to them and that type of thing. And with the three-dimensional items, there's a different approach to it. You have to think about all the different sides of it. You have to create it with the sculptor in mind, because he's got to see what the back of it's going to look like, and a lot of times the side of the figurine as well. And but I don't normally have to color in all the sides unless something's really different on the back. But
so where do you start with that process?
Well, I start with a sketch, just pencil, paper, and a sketch. And once I get the front of it figured out, and there's been an approval that they're interested in that design, then I continue with doing the back side view and another side view. So it takes a little bit longer, but you just have to create it with the sculptor in mind.
Right.
So
now, are you ever surprised when you see what your work started as and where it ends up?
Yes, because you lose control.
Yes.
You have no more control after when it becomes a 3D item. Sometimes it's disappointing, but for the most part, I'm really very pleased with it. One of my favorites is the one with the angels up there. I was just kind of breathtaking to me how the sculptor had taken my sketch, which is right here.
Oh, okay.
And had changed it from, had created a whole angel with the folds of the cloth and everything, and the detail of the wings, and the ribbon, and it was just an incredible piece to me. That they were able to take a sketch like that.
Right.
And
so this is where it started, and that's where it ended up.
Yeah.
That's really fascinating.
It was, for me, I was very happy with that.
So the little, the pole that's in the back, the pedestal in the back, that was their idea. I don't see that in your drawings.
It's actually a candlestick. It's actually a candlestick.
Okay, so they had to do that to make it a candlestick. Got it.
And that piece was actually inspired by a little neighborhood girl who was kind of my ideal of a little angel. She's probably about 5 years old, and she consented to posing for me with holding a little teddy bear. And so I was able to kind of get her arm position and kind of how the teddy bear's dress was draped and everything, and took photographs. And anyway, so that's kind of special to me, because she was a little friend of ours. And anyway, I'm really thrilled how the piece turned out.
Now, you've spent a number of years doing this, but this all starts a number of years ago with children's books was your original idea. And for that, we're going to talk to your husband, Jeff.
Okay, great.
Jeff, as the husband, you've been a very integral part in allowing Shelly to pursue her art career. And this all started about 20 or 25 years ago, didn't it?
Yes. I still remember the day. We were sitting in the living room right after we moved to my first church, and she was wanting to illustrate children's books, but wasn't exactly sure how to get started in it. And she just asked me one day, she said, would I be her manager? And I wasn't sure what it meant to be her manager. So I was pretty sure me cooking wasn't involved.
Probably a good thing.
No, yeah, it was just, but anyway. So we started talking about it and figured maybe we should just call some book publishers and see how do you get started in it. So we called directory assistants, and we ended up hearing from them that the best chance you had was to bring your portfolio and actually come to New York City and show them your artwork. But they wouldn't set up an appointment in advance. You had to actually be in the city before they'd set up an appointment.
So with a few rolls of quarters and a couple of cheap airline tickets, they were off to New York, where for 3 days they walked the city with Shelly's portfolio in hand. They wound up seeing 13 publishers, and while most took a quick look and said no thanks, there were some rays of encouragement, with some suggesting starting with children's magazines, a route that gets the artist exposure without exposing the publisher to the financial risks involved in working with new talent. Magazines, however, would be just a whistle stop on this journey.
So we started pursuing magazines, and a lot of the magazine publishers said, you ought to try greeting cards. And so we started greeting cards, and this whole process took about 2 years before she ever made the first sale of a greeting card to a company. It was in Taylorville, Illinois, Sangamon. They're out of business now, but that particular company, the editors were very nice, and they'd always have us come upstairs every time we came to town with a portfolio and look all through things and admire it. And one day on our 5th wedding anniversary, it had been 2 years, hadn't sold anything, and on our 5th wedding anniversary, they didn't even invite us upstairs. We sat in the lobby, but then the guy came down and he handed us a picture. He said, we'll buy this one. And we tried to act real cool, you know. And I know.
Pooping and hollering inside.
Yeah.
From there, sales for Team Rasche started taking off. And before the days of computers and the internet, it was quite a process. Putting a package together for a potential buyer typically included taking a dozen or so pictures of each piece on slide film out in the yard, getting them developed, then distributed to the various publishers. For Shelly, sometimes creating work old school still works.
Shelly, I think that most people will find the process very interesting. So tell me, this is what you call your 12 Days of Christmas project.
Yes.
Show me where it starts and how you get to the end product.
All right. Well, start right here with a piece of paper and pencil and eraser, and pretty basic.
Basic, yeah.
And this is actually my original sketch. This is called a thumbnail sketch. This was originally done for this piece right here.
I'm not seeing any resemblance at this point.
And I have down on this side listed what all I have to have going on in that picture. So that's how I keep in mind how to get it arranged and all that.
And then where do you go from there?
And so from there, I actually draw the figures. I might draw like 1 or 2 of them. I think actually I did 3 different ones. And then I would, over here, Xerox them and then overlap them and tape them together so that I get kind of a whole series of 12 Lords of Leaping there. Okay, at that point, I take my sketch to the light box and put my watercolor paper over the sketch and then redraw the figures onto the watercolor paper with pencil again. And then I would go in with a rapidograph type of pen and do a lot of the inking in of it, and go back in then with acrylic paints and then paint the colors in.
So this image here has all of the things that happen in the 12 Days of Christmas, and you created each one of those.
Right. It's about 74 people, actually, or characters. I believe once I added it all up, it's approximately something like that. But it turned out to be like a lot of people and figures and stuff. So
now, has this been marketed at this point?
Yes, it's going to be a puzzle.
Oh, okay.
A wooden puzzle, actually.
Great.
And for Christmas and that type of thing. So anyway, it was meant with that in mind to, that's why the busyness of it, it creates, I think, a more interesting kind of a puzzle piece like that.
Yeah, very challenging.
So, yes, I hope so.
Yeah, great.
But
okay.
Anyway, and actually as I was doing it, I had gotten this part all figured out, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do with all the rest of the characters, but fortunately they all kind of fit into their areas fine, and you know, because
just like a puzzle.
Exactly, right. That's very true. That's a good point.
Well, you have a cat that you're very fond of too.
Yes.
Can you show me that?
Skittles.
Skittles the cat. All right, well, let's go take a look at
Okay.
him. All right. This is a whole nother part of your studio, your wonderful studio, where you have your cat project. Where is that?
Yes, it's right over here on my art table. This is
Tell me about this.
This is one of my favorite paintings that I've done. I think it's because it's so personalized. I've actually used the shape of our barn and the look of our barn to create this image for a puzzle. With the, and
there is a ton of stuff going on here.
The problem is, and it's actually a find it type of puzzle where there are certain things that are hidden in it and you have to find.
Like a Where's Waldo sort of thing. Yeah.
And my son and I were trying to count how many cats were in it because we were going to list, you know, the number of cats, and we could not keep count of it. We just kept, did you count? No, he missed 3 of them, or I missed 4 of them, or so anyway, we're going to have to figure out how to actually count how many cats are really in it. It's still a mystery at this point.
Yeah, I think you probably find a new one every time you look.
Yeah, exactly. Another reason I really enjoy it is because I have incorporated all of my animals that we have here on the farm as well. We've got Jet, our horse, and Bud, our another horse. We've got Beulah and Josie, the donkeys, up here. We've got all the barn cats in it, and 4 roosters. We've got Greta, our dog, and Gracie, our other dog. So anyway, that kind of made it a lot more fun.
Why did this project come to be in the first place?
Well, I had a client that was interested in a puzzle about cats.
Okay.
And so I was trying to think of different situations to put cats in, and since we have a farm and so many barn cats and everything, I thought, well, that might just be something kind of fun to do. And so that's how the whole barn cat idea came about.
Now, some of these cats have some specific significance?
Well, yes, especially like the orange one, that this one right here, that's kind of similar to Skittles, my cat.
Okay.
But other than some of the other ones have different expressions, like for the find it thing, we have one that has had too much caffeine, and he looks, that would be this one right here, looks a little wired. And another cat that's afraid of heights, which would be this guy right here. Just different little, you know, situations that they're in. And I've also incorporated my husband in it. He's up here with the straw hat on, and my 3 sons. And this is the first painting that I've ever had myself in it as well. And
where are you?
I'm over here painting the picture of the barn.
Perfect.
On
with
the
your little color palette.
Yes.
And, yes.
So anyway,
that's cute.
It's been a lot of fun. So I'm anxious to see it done in a puzzle.
This was a puzzle, but nothing more, or is it other things? Okay.
And that's why it is so full of things. I'm not usually quite this busy.
Yeah.
And I could only work on it for a certain amount of time. It got rather tedious. And then I had to like take a break and come back. And but I was trying to use a lot of woodworking, like stripes and grain, wood grain, and that kind of got a little tedious after a while. But
so once you finish this, you send this original off to the manufacturer, and from there they do what they want with it. From a standpoint of setting the puzzle up.
Yes. And that can kind of be a scary part when you go send an original piece of artwork. Then I spent probably a month on this one. And you roll it up in the mailing tube and send it off, and you just hope it makes it. So
yeah, that
it
would
did.
Be a little bit scary.
It's been there and back, so that's great.
Yeah.
But,
interesting. Well, this is very cute.
Oh, well, thank you.
One of the more unique projects Shelly worked on was with Universal Studios, where she was to design artwork to be used in products for the film The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. After hundreds of sketches and many layers of approval in the concept and production phases, the finished products she designed sold in many major chain stores across the nation. You can get more information about Shelly's work at her website, shellyrasche.com. A few miles down the road in Quincy, you'll find a museum that celebrates the art and architecture from around the region. The Gardner Museum of Architecture and Design sits just across the street from Washington Park. To find out more, we got a tour from the museum's Vicki Ebbing.
Vicki, this building has so much history. Take me to the beginning when it used to be a library and tell me how we got to where we are today.
Some of the founders of Quincy, including the Gardners, some of the wealthy members of the community got together, and we had a library that kind of moved around from building to building upstairs, and it was always moving, and they decided we need to have a permanent library in Quincy. So they got together, pooled their resources, and came up with this beautiful building that we have today in 1888.
You and I remember as a library.
I do. And we went upstairs to the children's department.
Absolutely. So how long was it a library?
From 1888 until the 1970s, so almost 100 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what caused the move to make them change it?
Well, if you remember in the 70s and the 60s, the old buildings were not so highly thought of, and
right.
you know we wanted in Quincy to have a new, modern, state-of-the-art public library, and so they built the public library that we have today. That's a beautiful library over on 6th and Jersey. And so they moved over there, and this building, they kept it for a little while for storage because they have a lot of books, and then they decided to put it up for sale, and so the Gardner family stepped in again and bought it and turned it into the Gardner Museum.
All right, and so it was the museum, and then recently, within the last, what, 3-4 years, it's undergone some renovations.
It has. They renovated it in the late 70s, and you know there's a lot of traffic that goes by here and a lot of vibration, and so some of the plaster had cracks and things in it. So, and then one day there was a board meeting going on, and the stairwell ceiling collapsed.
I was trying to tell you something.
Yeah, I think it was time. And so, and the insulation in this building is sand. In a lot of old buildings like this, it also made it more fireproof. And so when the ceiling collapsed, all this dirt and sand put up this cloud throughout the building. And you know, it was just virtually unusable while that was going on. And then we discovered in here, where we are in the front gallery and the back gallery, both of these ceilings were sagging as well. So it was just a matter of time. Yeah. The back gallery, the ceiling back there, was actually sagging. Our contractors told us when they took it back up a foot. So it was just like ready to go any day. So we were lucky it didn't actually collapse, because the dirt would have just been forever. So.
Yeah. And so at that time then you replaced carpeting and...
We did. Since we were closed and we had our barn exhibit going on across the street and all that, we decided, okay, this is the time to take care of as much as we can, so we don't have to close down again. We want to be open all the time. Yeah. So we looked at the floors and looked at the walls, and so now we have new paint and new ceilings and new carpet, and we're good to go.
That looks great. Well, why don't we go upstairs and you kind of show us around?
All right, I will do that.
All right.
Okay. This is where we display our local architects, and right now we have Ernest M. Wood, who was he was an admirer of Frank Lloyd Wright, so you'll see a lot of similarities in his work, and he communicated with Frank Lloyd Wright via mail and these are actual pieces that a member of his family donated to the museum that he purchased from Frank Lloyd Wright. And different people who are connoisseurs of Frank Lloyd Wright cannot believe that I have them out here on display, but that was that was the agreement that we made with the people that donated it, that they wanted it out so people could actually touch it, look at it, and people enjoy it. So
what did he build in Quincy? This looks like the rest area in South Park.
That is the bandstand in South Park and Washington School. He did bid on Webster School there, and that is his architectural rendering that he sent to the school, or to the school board, and he didn't get the bid. So, you know, that
That's
building,
what it would have been.
right, that building didn't happen by him. It did happen by another architect. And then there's the old Chamber of Commerce building. And back here in the corner, we have the South Park Bridge, which is on the National Registry of Historic Places. And it's a beautiful stone bridge. And
he built that.
He was the architect for it. So, yep, that's his design. And there's one down at Fall Creek that, you know, I've been down there many times and always was amazed how much the two look alike, but I've never seen anything saying that he designed that bridge as well. But they could be twins. Yes.
Copycat architect.
And maybe it was just a craftsman who built this bridge, then went down there and built that bridge. Who knows? And then there are houses and buildings out here, including 428 Main, and we have the rendering that he did for that. He did the addition. Patton and Fisher, the architects who designed this building out of Chicago, designed the main building for 428 Main, but then State Savings Loan and Trust Company decided to expand. So Ernest Wood did the other side, this other half here, and did a really nice job blending the two together. I mean, if you didn't know that those two buildings weren't built at the same time, you couldn't tell from the street.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, what other architects have you displayed?
We have, through the years, we've had a variety of local architects, and we do possess a whole exhibit of Frank Lloyd Wright's drawings that are kind of in our back pocket to use in the future. But Martin Geisy, Harvey Chatton, it's just, you know, there's a lot of beautiful architects in Quincy that have designed beautiful buildings. So.
Yeah. Did this space have to have any major reconstruction or?
Well, above us is our old skylight, and you know, old skylights leak. They just it's just the nature of the beast. So they put a roof over it, and they insulated it. And when you walked in here, you could see the insulation through the glass.
Oh, lovely.
It was lovely. Yeah. So we gave it a mirrored effect, which kind of gives you this skylight feel again. Yeah, and that's a good idea. I think it turned out very nice. So.
On display at the time we were there was an exhibit of some of the classic mansions various members of the Gardner family lived in through the years. And a look at Quincy during Lincoln's time.
Great staircase that led to the second floor of the old library.
That we came up as little girls.
I remember it well.
Yes.
And this is a really cool chandelier. Where did that come from?
This came from the Lincoln Douglas across the street from us when it was the Lincoln Douglas Hotel. And when they renovated over there for the apartments that are there now, they took it out and we came up with it.
It fits. It looks like it was here all the time.
We like it.
Where do we go?
Let's go in here and see the aspirations in glass.
Oh, this is very cool.
Yes.
Wow.
This is a semi-permanent exhibit in that the big pieces are permanently installed, but we change it out occasionally, and we have other stained glass that's not on exhibit in this room, and we change it out and put up different pieces from time to time.
Are these all from Quincy?
They are from the area.
Okay.
They are not actually all from Quincy, but from the surrounding tri-state area. So.
Where is this big one here from?
This one here, I'm going to walk over here because I'm going to tell you wrong if I guess. It's from a small town from Macomb.
Oh, it's from Macomb?
Yes.
Very neat.
And Macomb is actually smaller than Quincy, even though with Western you wouldn't think so, but it actually is. So.
Right.
And it came from a church that was being demolished, and we found out about it and called them and purchased it from them, and so we have it here on permanent display.
Very good. So this room, was it remodeled at all?
It has new paint. It has the lights. We lowered the lights because the lights were sort of a safety issue for our employees, in that they would take a big long extension ladder to change the lights. They were attached to the pieces of wood up at the top, and they would take a big long extension ladder and put a board on the floor and nail it down and then climb the ladder.
Great, yeah.
And I said, you know, we're going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
We need to do something different. So we have a regular ladder that they can put up and reach from this level.
Fabulous old ceiling.
Isn't it wonderful? And
Yeah.
it was here when we were little.
Was it really?
It
we
was.
didn't appreciate it
we
then.
Didn't. We were too little.
We were looking up.
Yes. We were looking for
great.
books.
What else is up here?
Okay, over here, well, we have, let's look at these. There's a few, these are our treasure pieces of stained glass.
Oh, okay.
And so they have their own special room with a view of the park. And these pieces, this one is St. James of Ulm, who is the patron saint of craftsmen. And it is a salesman sample from the studio in New York, the Lamb Studio in New York. And this is a very sought after piece that we're very happy to have. Wow. And over here on the other window is a piece from Germany that actually was a salesman sample that he carried in a suitcase around to different churches to show the priests or the ministers and say, okay, this is our ware. And they, even though this is a German company, they sold in the United States. And then below that is a Tiffany that came from one of the churches in Quincy that remodeled and took out all their stained glass windows. So we ended up with that.
That was great.
Yeah.
A little bit of history there.
Okay. People can come by anytime.
Not all of the museum's treasures are on the inside.
In addition to plants, we also
On the grounds next to the building are various architectural objects and elements that were salvaged from Quincy buildings that today, with these exceptions, are only memories.
artifacts so you know where it was.
Objects include an archway from the Musselman building, a widow's walk, which is believed to be from the Root Mansion, and pilaster from the old senior high school. For more information on the museum, including membership and volunteering, log on to GardnerMuseumArchitecture.org. That's all we have time for on this edition of In Life. We'd like to thank Jeff and Shelly Rasche and also Vicki Ebbing at the museum for their assistance with this program. For all of us, I'm Becky Cramblit. Thanks for watching. If you have questions or comments, email us at inlife@wsec.tv. This program is brought to you in part by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and through the financial support of viewers like you. Thank you. Funding for art segments on In Life is provided by the Illinois Arts Council, a state agency. For a DVD copy of the program you've just seen, send $19.95 to Network Knowledge, P.O. Box 6248, Springfield, Illinois 62708. Be sure to include the program name, subject, and when the program aired. You can also order with your credit card by calling 800-232-3605.